Samuel was called, but I am but a child, like, so we can only see in our own, we see our own limitations when that has nothing to do with the calling that we have.
Yeah. And I think that's, I know we jumped in. If you've been watching our show long enough, you know that we normally start with the front pre-video, and we laugh and talk, but we've just kind of hit the record button and we just sort of start about reflection. Reflections is the topic, and the reflection is necessary. And I think part of us, a lot of us, when we talk about our life and we go through our life, and our discussion we're having right now is we don't do a lot of real good reflection. And it makes sense, actually. Michelle, I'm calling you Sean for some reason. I'll call you Sean Brown for some reason, because she's in Africa right now, because she's having a very
we're
similar.
Talking about Africa.
Yeah, and we're talking about Africa because we're having that similar situation right now. And I was talking to her before the show. When we look into a mirror, the image there is the exact opposite. So it actually makes sense for so many of us that when we look at our lives, we're not able to see it for its true imagery. We see it as the reverse of what it is. So if we're doing some great things or trying to make a difference in people's lives, trying to make a difference in our own life, when we think about it, we see we haven't done enough. We see our flaws. We see the reverse. I'm not doing enough. I'm not present. I'm not, whatever the reverse is. And even when you're like putting on makeup or brushing teeth or combing our hair, when looking at a side or the other, it's always in a mirror. It's always difficult to find the exact spot because it's reversed. Right. So I think it's very natural for us not to see the true impact of what we're doing. But we've got to keep pressing forward because it's a part of the call, part of the why, part of the things that we know we're supposed to do in those moments that we wrestle with. I quit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's fun. This morning I was working out, and I typically work out in front of a mirror. And I learned in elementary school, when you're trying to keep your balance, one of the exercises is called like the star. So you have one leg going out to the side, arms automatically go like this, and then you bring that leg up and touch it, in front of you, across your body. So usually what I learned was, look at a still object to keep your balance. They taught us that in elementary school. I went to a magnet school, and everything was about athletics and healthy living and da 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 da. And so I was doing that. So I was looking like what I'm doing right now. I was looking through the mirror at my window, this little thing on the curtain. And then all of a sudden I shifted, and I was like, no, look at yourself. Look at yourself. Look at your structure. Look at your how your body is responding. Look at your form. Are you sweating? Are you tired? Are you, and I started looking at myself in the mirror, and that is something that I actually teach. Look at yourself, not just in Mary Kay. Look at your flaws and what do you want to fix, right? It's not that. It's like, but look at you in as much of a complete picture as possible. You may not see who you think you want to see in the future, but that person's in there.
Right.
So how do you begin to call that person out? Is by giving that person attention, by looking at them.
Yeah. I know it's funny, as a kid, that's not something everybody is taught to do. And that's a great, you're showing that the need. I think I shared before on maybe in season 1, where at some point after Sandy died, I didn't even look at myself in the mirror for probably, I can't even remember how long. It was a significant, what seemed like a significant amount of time. Year or two, and people, I've often had people say, how is that possible? You either wash your face, brush your teeth, comb your hair, and I was cutting my own hair too. And so people marvel at the fact of I didn't look. And I'm like, I told people I could probably shave in the dark, wash my face in the dark, because I know where my face, I can touch and feel it. I know where I need to be, right? And you can feel when you brush your teeth. Cutting your hair, you need the mirror to look at the space and the edges that you need to cut, because I need to cut today, of course, yes. but it's not a matter of, I don't need to look into my eyes and see myself. I don't need to look at the complexion or the flaws, because at the time I think, as I reflect now and more about that, it's not that I didn't look at myself in the mirror. I just didn't want to look at my own eyes. To see into the pain or the distress that I was in or feeling. And I think that's a lot of cases where a lot of us don't want to see ourselves, because we don't want to see the position and the pain that we're in. We rather live outside of it. We rather live juxtaposed to what the reality is. And then so often, once we live outside of what's true, then we're okay with it, because I don't have to deal with it, because I don't know it's there. But we know it's there. You know, we know if our blood pressure is high because we did or didn't take our medications. We know if whatever medical condition we have is flaring because we didn't do what we're supposed to do. And we know that if we don't add enough water, but if we don't know it, somebody says anything, and we don't talk about it, it's not true. But we have to have those crucial conversations, those hard topics. We've got to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and go, okay, this is the truth about me. And move forward. And once we accept those, like I go back a lot. I don't know why the whole Alcoholics Anonymous steps are so important to me. Never having to go through them for substance abuse. But I think there's an emotional abuse that I inflicted upon myself, that I can need to use those steps to remind myself of healing and how to stay in a healing mode, that I've got to accept these things and know what the truths are and move forward.
And it's when you mentioned the not wanting to feel what you feel. And I was talking to Steve about that just yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. And I was saying, when we don't want to feel what we feel, we don't know what it feels like not to feel that thing. Right. So it's like, how do I know what happiness feels like if I never had the pain, right, of what pain feels like, and then coming out of that pain to feel what happiness feels like. So it's like we want to suppress certain things, but if you start suppressing certain things, then you're suppressing all the things. And those feelings and those thoughts, not that we need to act on every single one. We do need to acknowledge it, because then we can deal with it. I remember on a previous episode talking about going back to the mirror just for a second. And I talked about looking at my skin and how my skin was like peeling off like a lizard. And I was so unhealthy. And for that moment, I saw myself as other people saw me. And I never wanted to see that. I didn't want to see that in that moment, because then that meant that their truth about me was true. Their thoughts about me were true, even if all of them weren't true. The fact that I was in an unhealthy relationship and that I wasn't practicing self-care, they didn't use those words back then, but that's ultimately how I can describe it now. Not eating properly, smoking a lot of weed. I wasn't a big drinker back then, and so every now and again might have a drink or here or there. But I saw what I was putting my body through and the outward appearance of what other people might see. Aside from me being able to do good makeup, and back then, honestly, I wasn't even wearing a lot of makeup. So it really was like a true reflection of my soul, and it was coming out. They say what's in you is going to come out. I say that in the most positive way. It also happens negatively. So we're suppressing our feelings. We're not dealing with, we're not even looking in the past and going, okay, I've been here before. What tool can I use to overcome? That's really the power of reflection, is that I don't have to long for that. I don't have to want to go back to that, but I need to understand that that was a place in time that I had been. And I'm not so big. I'm not so great. I'm not so wonderful that can't befall me again.
That's the thing, though. A lot of us don't want to look at where we've been. I don't know. I didn't want to look back because I knew what was there, right? They'll say, "I knew where all the bodies were buried," right? And
Right.
if I didn't look, nobody else would know either, right? So, but if we don't look back, we don't ever know where we've come from, how far we've come. Even dealing with the apparel business, I get frustrated sometimes because it's not as far along as I want it to be. But I had someone else reminded me recently. It's like, dude, you're not even 2 years in, and I was like, well, yeah, no, and I had to, and I was like, wait a minute, you're right. We started this thing in 22, and we're coming up on 2 years in 24, and we've done some phenomenal things in a 2 year stretch.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
by the time this airs, when I said that I made this, I did this design for the shirt I'm wearing on Friday, right? This is Wednesday, and I was on the phone with Sean Brown, and she's in Africa during this recording, and she was like, "Man, you actually made that. You didn't waste no time putting that together." And my response to her was, for me, especially where I'm at right now in the apparel design business, if I don't put some of these drawings that are for me, for what I'm supposed to do for this apparel line, if I don't put them on something and put it on
Yes.
my body, it doesn't ever become real to me. It becomes an image locked in a vault. It's just a
Yeah.
thought that's here that I need to let manifest. This has been manifested. So now I know that this is
Yes.
possible. This is true. I can
Yes.
wear them. And it takes me back to the original concept for the business. I needed to do, even I used to do the daily devotionals. I need to put things out and speak in those things that aren't as though they were. So this was a
Absolutely.
thought, something that I spoke, and then it became in existence when I printed it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those of you who happen to be anywhere like me, you need to say some things and then do some things.
Right.
Otherwise, they don't become real. They have no life.
And that's sometimes why we don't speak, because when we speak, our words have power. And when we
Yeah.
speak, there's an accountability that goes along with what I said.
Oh, yeah.
There's if I'm putting it in the atmosphere, or if I'm putting it in the universe, or I'm putting it in the stratosphere, or whatever words
Put it in
you
the
choose
street.
to, right, you put it in a tweet, you put it in the streets on Facebook, wherever you're putting it, whatever you're saying, and whatever you're doing, has to must align to that.
Yeah.
And so there's a level of accountability, not only with our yes, with our no's, with our vision. There's a level of self accountability that we have to own when we do that. And so your obedience caused my husband to be celebrated. You blessed him with 3 designs from this new line that you have. And when I tell you, he called it his my husband called it his uniform.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, my Carlisle print shirts, these themes that you're coming up with, Craig, for men to be blessed, to feel encouraged, to feel like they can be stylish and trendy even as they progress in age, or whatever your total vision is, has been a blessing for him. And there's not a day, now he has a whole collection, there's not a day that he's not rocking one of your shirts. So I'm going to take a picture of him. His birthday was yesterday, so I'm going to take a picture of him and make sure that I post it, because even the meaning of this particular collection, the Joseph collection, causes me to reflect. Right, my husband and I are both parents together, but also step parents, and we don't use that term. Some people say bonus parents, some people, but for sake of clarity, I want to use the word step parent. And we're both step parents to our older children. And being a mom, it's like I'm expected to take care of my kids. I was having this conversation with my baby sister. I'm expected as a mom, and we are hard on moms who are like, let me leave this baby at the firehouse, or let me give this baby up for adoption, or I'm going to encourage us not to judge why people make decisions like that, because that could have been the very thing that saved that baby's life. That's a sidebar. But we are harder, to me, on moms that have other people raising their kids than we are on dads, because sometimes the expectation for a dad is that he's going to be a deadbeat dad. He's not going to show up. He doesn't know how to be a father. He hasn't been taught because his father was out of the home. So there's this generational thing. So when you have a being remarried in this final stage of my life, knowing who he is and who he is to me, but also who he has been to our my older sons.
Mm-hmm.
He came at a pivotal time in their lives. They were between adolescence and teenagers. And so once we got married and they became teenagers, there's that natural rivalry that happens between a father and a son. I saw it with my brother and my dad. I saw it with my mom and my brother. So there's this natural thing that happens. And so he's gone through all of those stages. Now they're in their 20s. Yeah. And just now they're able to say, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Just now they're able to say, yes, I have a biological father who loved me, who I, whatever my relationship looks like with him, but this is my dad. This is who taught me, or this is who brought me to this place where I am. And there's no shade against bio dads. Some bio dads are kicking butt, and you and the mom didn't have the relationship that you wanted to have, but you still love your kids. Yeah. This collection acknowledges that journey of the father who says, hey, this may not be my natural son, but there is no difference between the love that I have for him and the love that I have for my natural kids. Reflection. I know I'm a little off, but I think it's necessary because it matters to me what my life was before I had him. And to see him celebrated by other men who are doing the dang thing means a lot to me in my own reflection and the choices that I made.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I'm challenging with the Dad Collective. I'm challenging the definitions where father and mother were bio or donors, right? They were the vessels that brought the children and the people into the world. Dad and mom, they're nurturers. They're the ones that are there, 24/7. They're the ones that are on the other end of the calls and the text messages or whatever needs to happen. The ones that show up and stand up and get up. So I challenge you in our language and dealing with people that, I hated the term and still despise the term deadbeat dad, because I don't think you can be a deadbeat and be a dad. Because you know what I'm saying? No one calls their father. I mean, I have one of the kids that what do you call it? Out of humor, calls me father, and because he knows it bothers me. I'm like, yeah, I am your father. Yes.
Oh, but that's funny. Our Mark, one of the youngest of the, as my dad would say, of the first litter, he calls his dad father, and it was like as a joke of, oh father, you're so wonderful. So it's really in sarcasm. But then our baby, his son Isaiah, our grandbaby, calls Big Daddy Father Grandpa. Yeah. So now it's out of complete sheer adoration and admiration for that term. That's funny.
Yeah, because to me it's all about the dad. You know what I'm saying? Because the dad is intentional, mother's intentional, or mom is intentional, right? So it's an whatever. But if the endearment term is there, I get it totally. But when it comes to just defining the things that I'm doing, things that I'm looking for, it's all about the terminology. So I want people to know and feel that, when you wear something from the Dad Collective, whether it be the Joseph Activewear or Dad Collective or whatever lines that come under these brands moving forward, it's about either making a memory or recalling a memory. I want people to put on clothes. And it's probably, as we're even talking through it now, there's a couple of scriptures I'll put as a foundation for these brands. And one is putting on the full armor of God, right? Because you want to be able to put on, in this case, the breastplate of righteousness. If we make hats, the helmet of salvation, because sometimes it's about how you feel, right? I would have to imagine in your Mary Kay consultations, and you're talking about to the women how to put on their makeup and, how to, build that confidence as you're accentuating who you are with your makeup, not hiding who you are. So with our apparel, it's not about we're hiding who we are at all. It's, I'm going to put on this shirt on the day when I don't feel strong, when I don't feel like a Joseph, a person who's holding up the line the standard, you know, of what a man and a father and a parent should be and a dad should be. But I'll put this on because it's going to remind me of what I need to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It reminds me of who I am. I can't necessarily, I'm not going to necessarily want to just cuss somebody out if I'm wearing a Dad Collective shirt, if I know what the meaning is behind it. You know what I'm saying? Or Joseph Activewear shirt. It's something I want people to feel good about who they are and what they do, because it's going to make you stand taller. It's going to make you walk and act a certain way. And that's what I'm looking for, because in a lot of cases, there are a lot of men out there who don't have and weren't taught how to hold it together, how to keep it together, how to maintain, how to feel good, just how to be bad.
Yeah. I love that. And I like that you said you're not encouraging people to hide, because that's actually one of the reasons why I chose to become a Mary Kay consultant, is because they weren't promoting cover your flaws. They weren't promoting put makeup on and everything will be better. It's actually designed to heal your skin, the skin that you have. How do you maximize that glow? How do you wash your face properly without taking out all of the oils in your skin? Because not every oil, not everything is bad. So there's some things that our bodies naturally produce. So how do you enhance? So going back to that word, how do you enhance your beauty? By actually uncovering that beauty, by taking care of your skin. And then the makeup is a cherry on the top. If you like a little color or a little pop or whatever, then you can do that. But at the end of the day, it's all about all of this is about enhancing who we are and helping us come into the fullness of who we are. And reflection is a great way to do that. Reflecting on those things that possibly hurt you, to understand how you were healed in that process, and then apply that healing to the next thing, because things are always going to be happening. Doesn't mean that once you reflect one good time that you don't ever need to do that again. This is a perpetual process, and respecting that it's a process, I think, can help us understand the longevity of it. This is something you could do every single day, and help propel yourself forward by understanding how far you've come.
Because if you're wearing a brand too, you're also reflecting what that brand's all about.
Absolutely.
There was a time when, again, I don't probably, there was a time when Nike first hit the street and became popular. So they hit the street, but became popular during the Jordan era. There was an issue where people said, "Oh, the stuff's made in a sweatshop in China." So it sort of began to have this stigma of how it was being manufactured. And then there's, of course, this super high price tag that began to be associated with the brand. And so a lot of people had become fixated on the manufacturing processes. Not too long ago, they brought out the issues with Balenciaga and how their lines were being manufactured in some questionable plants. I don't know what the truth of that is, but I don't want to have a brand associated with the negative practices, because there's something behind there that's negative, right? We want to make sure it's manufactured in a way that's sustainable, coming from a place of positivity and strength, right? Because you really can't just put a booger on something and then wipe it off and say, "Okay, here, let me help you out with that." I used to tell my friends all the time, I'm like, "Hey, if I made you your favorite meal, I don't know, maybe it's mac and cheese, maybe it's barbecue ribs, whatever it is, if I made your favorite meal and it's smelling all good and you're loving it, you can't wait to eat it, and your mouth is salivating water and everything, and you sit down and then the person who would get the meal, they dig in their nose and they put a nice big wet juicy booger right on top of your food. But it's like, it's okay. It's just on the edge. So let me just get that for you real quick. And they'll scoop it out. Maybe they'll scoop it out with their finger or a spoon, and they'll put the plate back in front of you. Would you eat that? I wouldn't.
If you're okay, this is okay. If you're watching us on YouTube and you can see our faces, my mouth, it was completely open. If you are listening, I'm telling you that because I just said to Craig when we got online that I said, "Did you eat?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, I'm starting to think that eating is not really the problem with your mouth and your brain. And he said, I don't know. Now he's talking about boogers on top of a delicious meal.
Yeah.
Callers, viewers, please tell me, how do we solve this problem? No, I'm not eating no body boogers. And no, I don't care if you say just take the edge off. That is probably, having a hair in my food it ranks really high with, oh, my girlfriend, my sister, she sent me a video on Instagram from a restaurant, and it had I'm not going to say the restaurant type, but it had a mouse in it. I don't know if it's real. I don't. All I know is the lady that saw it. She reacted like somebody that it was real. That's disgusting.
Yeah,
that's disgusting. And sometimes we do that with the way that we handle people.
Yeah.
Oh, you can just have that.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't deserve that. We were also talking about the words of our parents, and being pastors and stuff. The words that are in the Bible that encourage that, you can ask, you can seek, that nothing is impossible, and the incongruency sometimes that shows up in our own in our behavior, or the behavior that we've seen from people who have said that, doesn't make us feel like we can really believe it, because what they end up saying in so many words, and sometimes in words to us, is you can't have that, you don't deserve that,
right,
and you deserve this. Who are you to say what I deserve?
Yeah.
Who are you? When did you start delivering or distributing the blessings? When did you? That's why I don't need to be God. Honestly, I do not need to be God, because there's you have to, I practice not being judgmental. Doesn't mean that judgment is not inside of me. Doesn't mean that I don't see certain things that I think, you shouldn't be doing that. And then my mindset goes to, but you could be doing that. So that's how I keep my judgment in check. But at the end of the day, who made somebody else responsible for what you're supposed to have?
Yeah. When you talk about that, what came to mind is practicing safe judgment. You know what I'm saying? Only way to practice safe judgment is not to judge, keep your mouth shut, and keep your thoughts under control. Right. And I know we're not held accountable for the thought until the thought becomes action. But so oftentimes we can create these thoughts in our mind, and those aren't thoughts. Those are intentions, right? We are intending to do something, whether we act upon them or not, because we're feeding into some passing imagery. Okay, one thing unaccounted for, no problem. But when we go, we add to it and expand to it and make a whole storyline in our head. Oh yeah, totally. We're responsible for all of that. But as we've been talking, reflection is key, because what we do, what we wear, what we say, what we drive, where we go, the people we associate, not like associate with, but like really get down with, they're reflections of what and who we are.
Yeah, we talked about that. Remember, we were saying you do wear your friends, you do. We do.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean we don't love our friends.
No.
Right. But there's a certain association, certain things that we do with our friends that we really shouldn't do. People talk about, people all of a sudden, sure, by the time this airs, who knows where this whole Diddy thing it resolves or ends up. There's so many people that was down for him until all of a sudden they started telling the stories. And then some people, oh yeah, I used to party with Diddy, but I didn't go upstairs. It's like, but you knew that if you knew enough not to go to that level with that person, how do you justify the other sides of the things that you did with them? I struggle with that. So maybe help me understand. If I knew a best friend of mine was a murderer, but just because I didn't see him kill the person, but I know the person is a murderer and has murdering tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
How do I not help prevent the next murder?
So how do you know?
I have some friends that they have murdered their character, murdered their career. I have some friends that know a person's been murdered, as character has been assassinated by a person. My
Mm-hmm.
character has been assassinated by some people that I
Mm-hmm.
still call friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working through how I deal and limit how I put the boundaries around myself,
Mm-hmm.
specifically related to that person.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some people that, yeah, they'll commit a murder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you may think, wow, but they're really a good person on the inside, though they
Mm-hmm.
just killed 65 people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we feel like we really are trying to help somebody become better. Maybe it's our charter, maybe that's our goal, maybe it's our mission in life.
Mm-hmm.
But still, people can change. Yes, they can. And I know some of us are looking for the best in all people, but there's a place for all of that. And I'm not really sure where that is. I still find myself wanting to help a murderer become better because I don't know the heart of the murderer. I don't know if their heart is now different and changed.
There you have it. That's
So,
why we can't judge, because we don't know. If we have, in your case, when your character was assassinated by a person, that was your experience.
yes.
And in truth, to not only how it made you feel, but potentially the outcome of what this person said, whether it was true or not, was damaging to other relationships or damaging to your business or damaging. That was your personal experience.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm going to have, if I meet that same person, I'm going to have that same experience. But if you warn me and you go, hey, Shell, I'm just telling you my experience, then that gives me a moment to pause. And
Yeah.
this is where I teach that judgment keeps us safe. Judgment in itself is a natural, it's inside of us to say, I want to move toward this thing, or I want to move away from the threat. I want to move toward the reward, or I want to move away from the threat.
Yeah.
So we're judging constantly. We're making judgment calls constantly about our lives, about our situations. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? And a lot of times, the decisions that we've made when we've used judgment based on experience has actually saved us.
Yeah.
The problem comes is we don't know, if we weren't in that room, we don't really know what's happening.
Sure.
So our boundary is, if I don't want to be associated to what is being said, and I have no lived experience that tells me otherwise, good, bad, or indifferent, there is my boundary. I don't want to be associated with something that appears to be something that I would not want my name associated to. So until people have a conversation with Diddy and say, bruh, did you do that? Then they have to accept whatever he says the truth is.
Sure.
Other than that, we don't know.
Yeah.
So if my judgment is telling me something is off, this doesn't make sense, then there's your boundary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to run him down because other people did. Yeah. But I'll tell you, my kids won't be going to flavor camp. I can tell you that. Because if I can't be at flavor camp with my kid and see what's going on, and you're telling me they have to be, then no, you don't have access to my kid. Yeah. That I saw from Justin Bieber's interview, and I heard it from Usher's interview. Yeah. These are people who have a lived experience with their experience, right? So that's how I stay in how I attempt to stay in my lane and control me and the boundaries that I'm setting. It's based on what's important to me. Yeah. Do I want to be associated with someone that even has that associated to them? But until I have a conversation with that person, how would I know, really?
Yeah, but even when we have relations in conversations with people who've assassinated our characters in the past, we still have to have those boundaries because we know that they've done stuff to us. I mean, I have a person I've done client work recently who assassinated me, right? But my responsibility was, okay, I felt led to give them a chance to see if they've changed. So you have also always encouraged us here on these programs where if you have a negative relationship with somebody and it blows up, the only way that relationship ever is restored is that both people have to equally agree to restart a new relationship.
Yes.
Those people
and still through communication.
Right.
What really happened? This was my perception. Let me understand your perspective.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And through understanding, sometimes we find it wasn't what we thought at all. And sometimes through understanding, we find it was exactly what we thought. So you're still at choice.
Right. Right. And even in dealing with those, we still have to set how much time that we allow ourselves to be in the midst and be in the presence of our offender, so to speak. And so I have done that here recently, but I still find myself questioning, okay, am I all in or not? Because it's not fair to myself, and it's definitely not fair to the other person to kind of be this, half in, half out. You know what I'm saying? This hokey pokey relationship. I don't want a hokey pokey relationship. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna put my left foot in, take my left foot out, and shake it. I'm not gonna doing that. I'm either gonna be down for you or I'm not. Because because a friend is something that means a lot to me. I use the biblical term that no greater love a man have than he lay his life down for his friend. So if I'm gonna lay my life down for you, then I'm gonna call you friend. If I'm not, then you just become an associate. And there's some people that I hang on to that have already lost their friendship title and a privilege. And they just need to, they're an associate. They're proving themselves to be an associate. They're telling me with their actions,
yes,
I'm an associate. I'm not a friend of yours. I'm an associate. But I have to believe them.
Right.
And it's okay. We've talked about in previous episodes. It's okay to let some folk go.
Absolutely.
That same friend tell me out of his own mouth on 2 separate occasions we're having lunch. At least 2, right? There'd probably be more, but at least 2 that I recall that stand out. He says, "I'm a bad friend. I'm really a bad friend." And my response was, "Yeah, you are. You really are." And a bad friend is not a friend. Bad friend is an associate. Because if you know that you're treating someone poorly on purpose, to a person that you said you're supposed to be down with, that you love, that you have their best at heart, then you're not a friend to them. You're not showing yourself friendly. So then the definitions need to change, and the posture needs to change, and it's okay, and it's a grieving that can take place for that loss.
Yes,
but we need to move forward and accept that, hey, that's dead. And if there's going to be anything that comes about in the future, that has to have a new relationship, has to be born and created. And even in the associate category, that is a new relationship, and be okay with that. And if it needs to change again to friendly, that has to be something that both parties have to buy into and decide.
Well, you have to understand those terms. They have to be mutually acceptable terms, right?
Yeah.
It's a contract.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, my question to you would be, what's holding you back from being the friend? When you talked about hokey pokey, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, what is it that you're sensing, feeling, thinking that is keeping you in that pattern?
I've always lived my life from the standpoint, well, that's not true, not always, but since I've changed my mindset always, since that point of not wanting to constantly be hurt and bitten by a scorpion, because a scorpion is still a scorpion, right? Scorpion doesn't change. I can't say a scorpion doesn't change its nature. It just changes its mind, right? So if a scorpion decides to sting you, it's what a scorpion can do, because it can sting you, right? And I'm just decided that I'm not really a great fan of snakes and scorpions. You know what I'm saying? I'm more of a small dog and gerbil kind of person, or you rabbits and things that don't have fangs and venom that are. You know what I'm saying? I don't need the things that are going to hurt me. I like friends that are a lot less volatile, a lot less vicious. So I like to keep it a little bit different. So when you find that a friend of yours is a scorpion or a snake, poisonous, venomous, attacking, and just because it hasn't attacked you again, and you find yourself having to go by their habitat, right? And or if we find snakes in our yard all the time. I'm very leery of those interactions. Do I always kill a snake when I find it? No. There's sometimes when as long as I can get the snake out of my yard and away from my family, we can be cool, right? Find a big dog or a bear or a mountain lion or some of that, bobcats come in the yard, coyotes. I'm good. You stay over there. But if I know that the thing is going to do me wrong by its posture, then I'm going to take it out. I'm not going to waste any time. My goal is to kill it.
So, look at that! It happened naturally. Two things. One, when I moved to the country here, I learned a lot about. I always talk about the changing of the seasons, the wind, the this, that, what have you. Very, very grounded here. It's my safe place, my place of healing, and that I will be able to offer to people in the future. But what I learned is that you watch snakes.
Yeah.
You watch them because you shouldn't kill all of the snakes.
Right.
Because the snakes serve a purpose. And so we have rattlesnakes and we have out here, which are, everyone knows that they're the most deadly. But they also keep the mice at bay. They also, do some rabbit control. They also do some bird control, whatever they're doing, right? Their purpose. And so they said, well, if a rattlesnake comes too close to your property, if your rattlesnake is on your property, you can relocate it. You can have it relocated. But you want to be careful how many you actually kill. And then we have California king snakes. Now they said you definitely do not want to kill the king snakes because the king snake kills the rattlesnakes. So it's not that we don't need snakes. We have to understand that snakes serve a purpose. So you don't always have a snake will take care of a snake.
Yeah.
Right. Another snake will take care of a snake.
Yeah.
But I don't have to make myself available to snakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're talking about a friend that is a snake, that's not a friend.
No.
That's somebody that I need to watch. I need to be aware.
Yeah.
I don't have to expose that they're a snake. Everybody sees that they're a snake. I don't need to be responsible for that. What I need to be responsible for is my interactions with that snake.
Correct.
And my interactions, if a friend is a snake, it's not a friend. That's that is automatically someone that I know, might be an acquaintance, might be a this, that, or the other, but I'm not going to dinner with a snake.
Right.
Knowingly.
Well, I don't mind going to dinner with a snake, but I'm gonna sit across the table. I'm not gonna sit next to him. You know what I'm saying? Because to your point, I agree, and you've helped me so much with your last statement, because a snake actually can make you better as a person, because they're making you vigilant. That allow you to no longer realize that you can be so trusting to everyone, and you have to be discerning of what you're doing in your environment. So in that case, that snake has made you better, and I can tell from this interaction with this snake, in my case, it's made me a better person, because I realized that I was so reliant upon that person for my identity or my affirmations, and and I thought, well, for me, I've said a lot of times where I just want to be me. I don't have to always be this supersized, be strong all the time, and I can be myself. And if myself is just not feeling good, then I can at least be comfortable around this other person because I can feel like I can be me.
Mm-hmm.
What interactions with this snake has helped me understand is that I need to be me and can be me and
Mm-hmm.
should be me
Mm-hmm.
around everyone,
Absolutely.
not just a select group of people.
Absolutely.
Because if I can't be me in my own habitat and other habitats, my
Mm-hmm.
habitat is wherever I go, right? Then the problem is with me, not with any of the other animals in the animal kingdom, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
if I don't feel comfortable in who I am, if I'm not encouraged by by what I am at the time or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that encouragement is really I'm responsible for my joy. I'm responsible for
Mm-hmm.
encouragement. Now, I'm not saying that other animals in the animal kingdom, other people aren't able to speak into my life and help me with that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not their responsibility. I can't
Mm-hmm.
leave that at the foot of that other person and make them
Mm-hmm.
solely responsible for my well-being. And I had done that with that person without them knowing. I had it in my mind, that person is going to take care of me. They'll take care of whatever I need, or whatever. If I'm in, fine. If I need something, they're going to know
Mm-hmm.
how to help. And that's not their responsibility. They're not God. So I put them on a pedestal,
Yes.
and that altar or pedestal I put them on and worship them in place
Mm-hmm.
of God
Mm-hmm.
caused me trouble and has damaged the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I don't want that anymore from anyone. So that's my posture now is when I have a problem, I go to God first. I'm taking it up with him. And there
Mm-hmm.
may be some agents, some hands and feet of his that are just that respond
Mm-hmm.
when they respond.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's never an issue I'm going to worry about the amount of time it took for a hands or foot of God person to show. It's that they showed. And what I'm
Mm-hmm.
finding is some of these hands and feet people
Mm-hmm.
are are the most unlikely sources. They're the rocks crying out for God. And I get
Mm-hmm.
excited for those because some of the hands and feet that I expect or may
Mm-hmm.
want
Mm-hmm.
have the right to remain silent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Yeah. I think, well, I believe that in the lessons that we learn from the snakes, that's the intent.
Yeah.
That is the purpose.
Yeah.
To find your place, to
Yeah.
find your heart, to find your voice from what you've learned,
Yeah.
therefore not creating a pattern.
Yeah.
My real point is that for me, is a snake is not a friend. So I have to redefine
Yeah.
what title I'm going to give them,
Yeah.
because with my friends, there is a mutual understanding of
Sure.
what that word means.
Sure.
Even if we don't, even if we have different roles in the friendship, like my role may be, I'm a planner. I'm funny. I'm whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I hope my sister sees this episode. She thinks she's funny and she's not. And so I have to remind her, you are not funny. I don't know what in the world humor is to you, but if you're cracking yourself up, girl, go get it. But that may be my role in the friendship, right?
Mhm.
Whereas my friend in the same relationship might be the one who is uh, thoughtful,
Yeah.
and she might be the one who goes gets cards and make sure that every little, I'm the planner, but she does like the special cherry on the top things, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have to have the same role
Right.
in the friendship to be a friend, but that title needs to mean to us what it is. You throw a third party in there, my relationship with this person is completely different. But
Sure.
at no time ever, if I know that you are a snake, I'm watching you.
Yeah.
And I don't have to watch you from, I'm watching you from the comfort of my own home.
Yeah.
I'm watching you. So I am seeing who I am being 100% of the time. I'm not going to let you dictate how I behave,
Right. Right.
but I'm going to watch you. I don't need you in my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a real conversation I have with Jesus every morning. I'm like, Lord, you blessed me to have a beautiful home, great land. And you put me in the space where there are critters that were here before I was. I respect that they lived out there, and I need you to help me help them understand that they don't live in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a for real thing.
Yeah.
It is a for real thing. But a lot of us don't really want that for whatever reason. And I think there's two sides of it, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
those people who just, oh shoot, I don't need anybody. I'm good. I'm a lone wolf. I'm out here by myself. Very solitary confinement type of people. And then there's people that really are the clingy. I really have social butterflies, and I'm
Yes.
extroverted. I love to call everybody a friend, right? I've been on both sides. I know what it feels like to be in both spaces.
Yeah.
Is it balance I'm seeking and looking for now? I'm not really sure, Shell. I think the discernment and wisdom, I think it's the wisdom side I'm looking for, to find out who needs to be close and who doesn't. And I think that's an ongoing evaluation of
Mm-hmm.
people for the season of relationship that people are in. And
Yeah.
so with us, and keep it moving. And I used to always want to have people that just think they're going to be a lifetime friend. And
Mm.
this just not realistic to have a lifetime friend for every friend.
Right. Yeah.
Some
And
friends are
sometimes you don't know that until you're in the friendship, right? You're in it. And
right.
I think what's beautiful about that, what's beautiful, and I know I cut you off. What's beautiful about thinking that you're going to have a lifetime friend is that's your intent, that's your motivation, that's their intent, that's their motivation.
Sure.
And so that's why I'm 100% confident that when a friendship goes awry, there's a conversation that hasn't been had, and
Right.
something somewhere was misunderstood. And if that is truly the person that is going to be that lifetime friend, there that will be water under the bridge, as they say, because not only will it have been addressed, but it will continue to flow, right?
Unless that water took out the bridge.
I'm just saying, right? Well,
Oh,
then you know
yeah.
that then at
I'll
that
just,
point, you know, you
I'll just
ain't
give you a hard
standing on
time.
nothing. You're
Yeah.
not standing on anything. So
Yeah.
that relationship is not going to be a lifetime friend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it depends on where is it? I went to Niagara Falls many years ago.
Ooh, how was that?
Oh my gosh. What's funny? I loved it, and I think it was a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful experience. I encourage anyone who loves the outdoors and want to see some of the
Mm-hmm.
powerful things in nature to
Man.
encourage you to go see it. I want to say but so much to kind of negate anything I said before, but I don't want to say that. So I'll say, and when you go,
Yes.
I would encourage that you go see the falls from the Canadian side.
Ah.
Because the US side, we're giving away our water.
Mm.
It flows from the US into Canada. So
Okay.
from the US side, you can only see the falls from an observation deck that protrudes out over the falls, and you can look down at it and go from a distance, go, oh, that's pretty. That's really wild. And you're watching the water go over.
Mm-hmm.
But when you reverse that, take the reflection of that
Mm-hmm.
from the Canadian side, you can look into the mouth of the falls
Wow.
from the lower position and see
Mm-hmm.
the elevated lip of the falls and watch that water fall
Mm-hmm.
onto your side and flow towards you. And
Mm.
even at nightfall, they have these really bright lights that they shine onto the water, because
Okay.
that's a 24-hour a day exhibition where you're
Mm-hmm.
watching that water and you hear its roar. And there's so many times when the moisture that just floats back up into the air that's coming off and
Mm-hmm.
splashing and gathering will actually
Mm-hmm.
create cloud formations and actually rain in the mouth of the fall.
Wow.
And there's even boats that you can take, whether it be kind of like powerful tugboats that go slow into the falls, and they'll drive into the mouth of the fall
Mm-hmm.
and sit there. So you can take
Mm.
pictures in them and just feel. And we did that. We took a boat and just watch the power and the depth, the magnitude of the fall,
Wow.
and be a part of the rain that fell.
That's
Or you
amazing.
could take a high speed little small boat and go inside and just kind of race around and kind of in and get splashed on as the water falls down. And we didn't do that part. That was just craziness. But anyway, And then there's even a way where you could take from the U.S. side, go from the observation deck and take stairs down to and walk trails and paths behind the falls.
That's beautiful.
I don't even know why I said all that to say, but there's certain things about that when you can watch the power of what a thing can do. In some cases, like you mentioned too, a snake can be a snake and the falls can be the falls. The falls can be dangerous if not respected.
Absolutely.
But at some point also, it could be such a means of inspiration and profitability. If you manage that relationship and handle it from a different perspective. So I think that's a way to, even dealing with the snakes.
Yes.
You illustrated is, you let a snake be a snake because it's got a purpose to serve. And as long as you understand the purpose of the snake, the relationships and people, it allows you then to take the feelings out of it and replace the feelings with respect and the love, right? So I guess you change your definition of love. A person moves from that family familial, type of love and put them down where they need to be, a mutual servant and responsive type of love, that our relationship and love is built on a profitability and mutual need. A lot of our friendships need to be placed there. That mutually we need something from each other, and that's all I can give you is that love. But if nothing else, I got to give you that God love, that agape at the top. No matter what, I got to give you that one, and I'll give you another one also. But I can't give you more than two. Okay. Maybe
that's your boundary. That's your limit is two.
Well, yeah, because for the people that have hurt us, right, and continue to hurt a person, you can't give them. You shouldn't give them that that sexual love, right? That passionate side of you. You shouldn't give them that familial type of love, right? You really need to find, other than that love that God says to give everything and give Him as respect. I can give you something else, some mutually determinate item that we both need. Maybe there's something in business that we both needed. Maybe there was something that maybe we've got kids together. So I've got to have that mutual understanding. I'll give you that, but I'm not going to give you another part because it's too much.
What I'm hearing also, I know this is the close of season 2. So we're going to be going into season 3, and we promised ourselves that we would get some other, not that our voices are not wonderful, but we want some more perspectives. And when you just mentioned the thing about the kids and I thought again about blended families, and what we're really talking about in this conversation based on that is, when we both agree that our affection for something outside of the both of us, like we both care about something, that's the goal of the relationship, to make sure that thing doesn't die. So therefore, it takes both of us to make that work, as in any relationship would. But at the end of the day, if our affection is turned toward, whether that is religion, your relationship with God, whether that is, like you said, a project, whether that is, it can be a short-term thing. That's the difference between like coaching, counseling, therapy, consulting. There are timelines for those relationships, and you can extend those as often as you need to. But there's typically a start and an end.
Right.
And when we start this relationship, we may be thinking we're in it for the both of us. Then we find a common purpose that we can mutually agree to rally around that thing. Once that thing is gone, then we have to go back and determine, well, what is this relationship now that we don't have that thing? Right? Is that two-tiered love enough to keep us in connection? Or do I only need to have the one tier of love? My responsibility, my ultimate responsibility is to love everyone, not judge anyone. And I don't need this extra layer of involvement or engagement until the next thing that comes around that is mutually beneficial, that has a greater purpose that we can rally around. So I love that that's how this ended. But you were talking about Niagara Falls because of the reflection and being able to see things from different perspectives on this side. And there's benefits for the US and for Canada with that fall, right? But they look different. But it's an agreed upon term. that serves the purpose, and looking at it through the different through those different lenses allow us to understand the power of reflection.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Well, welcome to the end of season 2.
I know.
Be looking out for season 3. We got some new things coming for season 3, some changes, and it's gonna enhancements to what we're doing.
Enhancements.
Yeah. So Knight&Craig, we're gonna get some work done. Boom, boom.
Listen, I think it will be amazing to have many of you who started maybe in season 2 or in the middle of season 1, or you kind of jumped around with different episodes. This would be a great opportunity as we're preparing for season 3 to go back, right? Do some reflection, look at some of the episodes that were from season 1 that brought us all up to season 2, and then go back and look at some things in season 2. There's been some really powerful conversations, and what we've heard from the feedback that we have received about individuals on this journey with us and on their individual journey for themselves through us. We've heard some powerful things. So we don't plan on stopping anytime soon. We want to be sure that we're hearing your voice and making sure that we're not only following our purpose, but helping you to reach and accomplish the goals that are related to yours.
Yeah. So if you want to be a part of the Knight&Craig show, feel free to email us. If you got show ideas, comments, concerns, if you need help, if you're looking for a coach, if you need something with apparel, whatever you need, that we're here, that we do, if you're looking for someone else who can help you, we can refer you to other places, other resources as well. Also like and share experiences on social media as well. Do the same thing. You can DM us there. You can reach out to us, be a part of the conversations about the show. We definitely are here for you. No matter what kind of mindset I may be in, telling a funny joke or not, we are here for you. So until next time, the next time you see us, we're going to be, next time you see us on a new episode, it'll be season 3. Like Michelle said, feel free, go back, watch, share, catch up from season 1, tell a friend, and go from there.
Absolutely. Until next time. Bye.
I came to win, I don't mean to offend. The greatest on the mic, mightiest with the pen. Losing never been a choice, but a line is the same. Ascending word, been in verse, birth in the gym. Akin to the best, never aiming for less. Opposition so foul, got me calling for rest. Who's next to get bested? Mind, soul, and flesh. His antithesis a mess, it's the verses so clean. So long, you better catch a God for him to sing. Dreams manifest, did you get what I mean? God always had a plan, he created for me. Success only means that I did what he seen. Got the game and the fans locked in like a key. Sitting on the throne with a crown, I'm a king. Sitting on the throne with a crown, I'm a king. Yeah, I think we got one.